This is a New Jersey Transit signal guide. It's basically a card that has all the signals and signs that you would find on a New Jersey Transit railroad, and on the back it tells you what they all mean. I got this from an engineer when I was a kid riding on the Raritan Valley line. This right here is the first signal the engineer actually taught me what it meant. It's a passenger train signal. Basically, you're traveling on a line that's used by freight and passenger trains, such as the Conrail section between Roseville Park and Union. It's telling the passenger train that the route is aligned for them. However, he also explained to me that if a freight train were to approach the signal, they would have to stop because the route would not be aligned for them. There are actually some interesting stories from when I was riding the train as a child. I was actually trying to memorize all the signals on this line because as a kid I always wanted to drive on the Raritan Valley line, and I figured a great place to start would be memorizing the signals, because it would probably look really good on your resume that you already know what the signals mean and how to react to them. So one Sunday morning I was riding the Raritan Valley train to Newark, and I was looking at the signals, and as I was passing them I was calling them. I was basically saying out loud what the signals were and which rule it was and what it meant. But when the train got to a junction where it switches onto the Northeast Corridor line in order to go to Newark, it drove past this signal called "Stop and Proceed," which basically means stop, then proceed at restricted speed until the train clears all interlocking and spring switches, and you cannot increase the speed until you go 500 feet or one full train length, whichever distance is greater, past a distance where a signal with a higher speed limit was received, or if you have cab signal, you can't increase your speed until the cab signal displays a higher speed. But at first I thought it was a stop signal, which basically just means stop. So I see the signal, and I say out loud that it's a stop signal and which rule it is and what it means. Then the train, then obviously because it's a stop and proceed signal, the train started to move, and because all the passengers heard what I was saying the whole time, they start getting worried because they were like, "Oh, he just said that was a stop signal, but the train started moving. Like, what's going on?" And then I was like, "No, wait! I made a mistake. It's a stop and proceed signal, not a stop signal." Then I read which rule it was and what it meant, and then they all calmed down. Then my parents were like, "Sit down. You're worrying all the other passengers." I was actually really embarrassed when that happened because I was like, man, I was doing such a good job then, but then I made a really terrible mistake, which like if I was driving the train in real life, that really would have been a horrible mistake, confusing these two signals. Actually, confusing any signal for another would be a horrible mistake. There was actually one day when I was riding the Raritan Valley line where the engineer actually let me use the intercom and announce all the station stops. But for some reason, when I got to Union, I guess because I don't really do well when giving speeches, I started getting nervous and I started stuttering, and it basically didn't go well at Union. Interestingly enough, though, my parents were riding that train with me that day, and they told me that they didn't even know it was me over the intercom because, like, it makes your voice sound deeper, apparently. The main mistake I made when I was using the intercom at Union is when you push the intercom to tell the passengers what station is next, you're supposed to hold it until you hear two beeps. That's basically a sound that lets the passengers get attention to the system before you start speaking. But I did it too fast, and basically I started speaking before the two beeps, which made it so that they were only able to hear like the middle of my sentence.